Well, we continue to follow what's breaking right now. A crime scene that required a hazmat response. Police officers found a body covered in chemicals. Good evening, I'm Debbie Knox. Bob is off tonight. Those chemicals do not pose a threat to other people. CBS4's Jake Miller explains, though, where the investigation goes from here.
Now, officers arrived here roughly before 10 o'clock here in the 5800 block of Bolton Court on a tip that there was a body in an apartment. Now, officers obtained a search warrant to enter the home, and once inside, they discovered a body. The body was partially hidden and covered in baking soda and lime. They also discovered a bag of lime inside the apartment. Officers were unable to identify the body. Neighbors tell us a man and woman lived there with a German Shepherd and have not been there long. Police have a person of interest, but they do not know where they are at this time. Investigators say there was no forced entry and the apartment door was locked and believe this was an isolated incident.
There's no indication that there's some a stalker or something.
Or a home invasion.
Or a home invasion. No, nothing like that. We just found a body in a locked apartment with lime.
Now, hazmat was called to identify the substance. It was determined that there was no danger to residents. A positive identification could come later this evening or tomorrow as police continue to investigate this unusual circumstance here on the city's east side. That's the very latest. Jake Miller, CBS4 News.
And here are 4 facts about the chemicals at the scene. The police tell us they found baking soda and lime. Lime is the common name for calcium hydroxide. It's made by heating crushed limestone. Common uses of lime include neutralizing drinking water, creating building products, and agricultural purposes, according to the National Lime Association. Workers handling lime are warned to protect their eyes and skin because that chemical can cause burns. Well, we've been sending out news releases and news alerts about the story since the body was discovered today. Get those sent directly to your smartphone by signing up for the CBS4 Indy app. New information today about the federal investigation into a local nursing home company CEO. And for the first time, we are hearing from the company itself. Yesterday, federal agents raided a dozen locations in central Indiana, including the corporate headquarters of American Senior Communities and the Carmel home of company CEO James Burkhart. ASC manages more than 90 nursing homes and rehab centers across Indiana. Sources tell CBS4 the investigation involves possible fraud of Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. Some of ASC's patients say if crimes were committed, those responsible should be brought to justice.
I think that something should be done about it because our government is going through enough as it is than to have somebody stealing from them.
Today, ASC released a statement that reads, quote, ASC is in compliance with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations and will continue to conduct its business in accordance with the highest standards of integrity. Well, new at 6 o'clock, a new group formed in Hancock County to help keep children safe. We've covered the issues throughout the state dealing with cases of child neglect, abuse, and death. CBS4's Shannon Hauser shows us how one county is facing those issues head on.
The Child Fatality Review Board is actually new this year here in Hancock County. Both the prosecutor and coroner leading a team of experts trying to better understand and prevent child death. Heartbreaking and tragic losses, children killed sometimes at the hands of their own parents, will now have a voice thanks to groups of county officials across the state.
There are things that could be done to prevent this or things in our community that we as a community could do to prevent this type of incident from occurring in the future. And then secondarily, are there things, the evidence that we see which potentially may lead to prosecution? They're called Child Fatality Review Groups and they're led by the State Department of Health. In Hancock County, the team is made up of a variety of experts. First responders represented from the school system, from the coroner's office, from the Department of Child Services, the prosecutor's office, and law enforcement. The prosecutor's office can't confirm if the team is specifically looking into cases like the death of 1-year-old Zoe Wagner, but they do say anytime a child dies, whether by accident or other unnatural causes, they'll work to get better understanding and, if necessary, justice for the child. What we really are after here is more accurate and better information so that we can have a safer community overall, and then more accurate, better information so we all understand, what may be normal, what may be accidental, and what may not be. If you want to find more out about this program or find out if your county has a similar one to this, just head over to CBS4ND.com/links.
Reporting in Hancock County, Shannon Hauser, CBS4 News.
All right, Shannon, thank you. An update now on that huge warrant sweep in Johnson County for suspected drug dealers. An additional 13 suspects have been found and arrested, bringing the total now to 43. Police went out to serve 50 arrest warrants yesterday, the biggest sweep in the county, Johnson County, since 2009. At new at 6 o'clock, the fix to Indiana's skyrocketing rates of drug abuse could be much tougher than initially expected. Today was the first meeting of Governor Mike Pence's task force on drug enforcement, treatment, and prevention since its creation earlier this month. Task force members quickly found out through testimony from experts that Indiana doesn't have the infrastructure in place right now to fight this problem. CBS4's Kendall Downing explains.
Is that this is a
presentations.
Addictions are an epidemic in our state.
Not even into full-blown addiction, but
Discussions.
The crisis we have is so tremendous.
Do you feel that the state
And no minced words.
We may be in a much better place in 10 years.
Psychiatrist Dr. Andrew Chambers testified before the task force and says the state's issues with mental health and drug use have been years in the making. Chambers says there is a lack of psychiatrists and other mental health professionals trained and working in Indiana. And on top of that, there's no place for them to work.
You know, we really have to build our own infrastructure and workforce in Indiana. It's actually really hard to recruit addiction psychiatrists because they're in short supply everywhere in the United States. It just happens our shortages is one of the worst examples.
There are a lot of issues that are popping up today that we have to solve.
Issues like barriers to treatment because of state boundaries. Mental health advocates say the state should honor professional licenses from other states, allowing practitioners to cross state lines. Other options could include adjacent state reimbursements for recovery services. This is the first meeting of the governor's task force held today at Eskenazi Hospital. 2 more meetings are scheduled, one in October in Evansville, the other in November in South Bend. But those on the panel say more meetings may be added as the true scope of the problem becomes known.
It's been made very clear that we just don't have the substance use provider network and the infrastructure to care for all the disorders out there. We need to start investing in education and training across the workforce.
Kendall Downing, CBS4 News.
Now, at each meeting, the task force will take action on some recommendations. Those will be compiled after the 3 meetings for formal recommendations to the governor, along with some legislative options. Well, new information today about a cold case that was just cracked after more than a decade. Charges have just been filed against Marco Galindo for the death of Natalie Horsley. Horsley's body was found in 2002 at a construction site near Avon. DNA evidence gathered at the scene and DNA from the suspect were recently matched. It's the latest example of just how important technology and education are to solving crimes.
Education on the collection of evidence, the types of evidence we get good results from, and the processing up front, because it really is dependent on the crime scene to collect it properly, to identify what they should be collecting.
Galindo was already in jail in California. Detectives there interviewed him about the Hendricks County case and say that he confessed, giving them details only the killer would know. An extradition request has been filed to bring Galindo back to Indiana. Another clear, sunny day here in central Indiana, and that's just a little chance of rain apparently in the forecast. Our chief meteorologist Chris Wright has the details on that.
Yeah, nice and warm out there today. Second day in a row we saw the high temperature at 82, and we'll see it a little bit warmer for the next 2 days before that rainfall moves up. Yeah, it is all good. A little bit warmer for the next 2 days before that rainfall moves in. We're nice and dry right now on live Guardian radar, but that'll be changing for us. So the 4 things you need to know about today. We started out at 56 cool degrees this morning, warmed up to a high of 82, just a couple of degrees above average this afternoon. No rainfall today. We saw our peak wind gusts coming up from the south at 20 miles per hour, so a nice warm flow of air moved into the state today. For this evening, we'll start cooling down by 7 o'clock, 78 degrees. By 9 o'clock down to 72. 11 o'clock temperature at 68. We'll cool low temperatures down to the 50s for us tonight across central Indiana, ranging from 51 in Peru to a low temperature 59 here in the city. And then we'll see a quick turnaround on temperatures tomorrow. By lunchtime up to 78 degrees with a 5 o'clock temperature at 85 and even warmer on Friday. We'll talk more about that Friday high temperature and also that chance of rain coming up and what that means for your weekend in your Weather Authority forecast.
All right, thank you, Chris. Well, new at 6 o'clock now, a Richmond grandmother has been sentenced for attacking a teenager with a lamp. Christine Lear received a 180-day suspended sentence from a Wayne County judge this week for pleading guilty to a charge of disorderly conduct. Back in July, Lear used a lamp to hit a teenage boy after she caught him with her 14-year-old granddaughter in their house. Right now, a council committee is hearing the proposed budget for IMPD worth $257 million. Outgoing Mayor Greg Ballard calls it a maintenance budget. Money is set aside to hire 70 police recruits next year. The Fraternal Order of Police wants to see 100 join the ranks. Also in the budget, $250,000 will go toward body cameras, with the city relying heavily on federal grants to cover the rest of the cost.
Well, I think the $250,000 what's been allocated makes sense in terms of gives us an opportunity to look at technology. There's a lot of technology out there.
As I've highlighted, we're supportive of it, but we also have to be honest about what the costs are. And we absolutely want to avoid, as we move forward, suddenly discovering what those unintended costs are, especially related to the data storage.
Council will spend the next couple of weeks reviewing the budget overall. It has to be approved by the middle of October. Today, we learned that new jobs are coming to Indianapolis. They are with a company called iLab, a South Africa-based software firm. We asked them why they picked Indiana.
Indiana's got a wonderful climate for business expansion. There's a great talent pool that's going on here. It's a very business-focused economy, and it's easy to grow here. It's easy to do business here.
iLab will spend about $1.5 million on its new offices in the Chase Circle building. It plans to hire 100 new people by 2019. Happening right now, the first of two debates among the Republican presidential candidates. Next, see who's moved the most in the polls since the last month and how far ahead of the frontrunners are now from the rest of the candidates. Plus, we go to Greenwood to check out what police call a Batman-style burglary, which cleaned out a jewelry store. See how the thieves got in.
The Colts are making it a ladies' night, and we want you to be there. Head to CBS4's Facebook page. Tell us why the blue lady in your life should win a mini makeover from the official salon for the Colts cheerleaders, an outfit from the Colts Pro Shop, and attend the ladies-only Colts Camp 101 on September 29th with me and a friend. But hurry, you only have till Thursday at noon.
And if you're constantly recharging your cell phone like most of us are, you'll want to join us tomorrow on CBS4 This Morning. In fact, Nicole, Marianne, Lindsay, and Tim will have new tips and tricks for keeping your battery going. That all starts at 5 a.m.